This is Plant-Based Briefing, Nut Health Benefits You Won't Believe How Good They Are For You, Part 1, by Ocean Robbins at foodrevolution.org. And I'm Marian Erickson, host of this plant-based podcast where I curate a variety of articles on various topics related to plant-based and vegan living, get permission, and read them to you here in about 10 minutes or less every weekday. And today's article's longer than that, so it's a two-parter. I'll read Part 1 today and tune back in tomorrow for Part 2. I'm pleased to have permission to share content from Food Revolution Network. So now let's get to today's plant-based briefing. Nut Health Benefits You Won't Believe How Good They Are For You, Part 1, by Ocean Robbins at foodrevolution.org. Summary: nuts have been an important food source for humans for thousands of years. But are nuts healthy? Are some nuts better for you than others? And are there any downsides to consuming them? Discover what you need to know about including nuts in your diet. It's nuts. How many studies are now discovering the numerous health benefits of nuts? It turns out that they're actually one of the most health-giving foods on the planet. And while the research may be new, nuts aren't. In fact, a 2016 archaeological dig in Israel found evidence that nuts formed a major part of our ancestors' diet 780,000 years ago. Dig researchers discovered 7 varieties of nuts along with stone tools to crack them open. These stone tools, called nutting stones, are similar to those found in the United States and Europe, and archaeologists date them back 4,000 to 8,000 years. Today, many of us enjoy walnuts, almonds, pecans, Brazil nuts, pistachios, cashews, macadamia nuts, and hazelnuts, plus honorary peanuts, even though peanuts are technically a legume, with enthusiasm. Nuts are a popular plant-based protein source and are often used in dairy analogs like nut milk and nut cheese. And a variety of nut butters have emerged, beyond traditional peanut butter. Yet we're only beginning to appreciate the enormous nutritional benefits that nuts give us. So, how healthy are nuts? What actually constitutes a nut? Are there any downsides to eating nuts? And what are the best ways to store and eat them? Types of nuts. Nuts come in many different shapes and sizes, but most of the different types of nuts fall under the tree nut category. As the name suggests, they grow on trees. But botanically, some of what we know as nuts may technically be fruits, drupes, or seeds. In general, the word nut is used to describe a hard covering or shell surrounding a kernel or meat inside. Some of the most common types of nuts include almonds, pecans, walnuts, hazelnuts, cashews, Brazil nuts, macadamia nuts, pistachios, pine nuts, and chestnuts. There are also a few other foods that have nut in their name that you may be wondering about. For example, are coconuts nuts? Coconuts are technically drupes because they have 3 layers: a smooth outer layer, a tough fibrous layer, and the fleshy part surrounding the middle. Peanuts are also lumped into the nut category but are actually legumes. They're the edible seeds of the peanut plant and grow underground rather than on a tree. But in terms of culinary usage, they're very much nut-like. Additionally, nutmeg does not come from a nut but from a seed. Water chestnuts are actually roots or tubers, and corn nuts are still corn, they're just roasted until they're hard and crunchy like nuts. Nut nutrition. Nuts of all sorts have been an important food source for humans for centuries. In fact, it's theorized that the discovery and inclusion of nuts in our diets may have helped shape our brains and intelligence. This makes sense when you consider the walnut especially. Walnuts resemble tiny brains inside a skull. As a result, they were often associated with brain health. But many different nuts have a variety of nutrients beneficial for brain health and beyond. Nuts are a rich source of complex carbohydrates. Carbs in nuts vary, but cashews and almonds have some of the highest carbohydrate contents at 8.6 and 6.1 grams per 1 ounce serving, respectively. Nuts also contain a good amount of protein, which is why they're often recommended as a protein source to include in a plant-based diet. Peanuts rank the highest in protein, followed closely by almonds, pistachios, and cashews. Additionally, nuts contain fiber, contributing to satiety. Hazelnuts and almonds contain the most fiber per ounce at 3 and 4 grams respectively. Nuts contain both saturated and unsaturated fats. The high fat content in nuts also contributes to a relatively high amount of calories per serving. If you're trying to manage weight, you may want to stick to some of the lowest calorie nuts, such as raw chestnuts or cashews, or limit your portion to no more than 1 or 2 ounces per day. Across the board, nuts also contain significant amounts of vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. A 1 ounce serving of cashews contains 1.9 milligrams of iron, a vital mineral for transporting oxygen in the blood. And almonds, cashews, and peanuts are all good sources of magnesium. A single Brazil nut can also provide an entire daily value's worth of selenium. So, with all of that to consider, what is the healthiest nut? Opinions may vary, but walnuts have some of the highest antioxidant levels and are also one of the best plant-based sources of omega-3 fatty acids. And researchers found that walnuts had the greatest health benefits among all the nuts studied in PREDIMED, a landmark randomized clinical trial on the Mediterranean diet. Health benefits of nuts worth knowing about. When it comes to the health benefits of nuts, there are many worth knowing about. It seems that unless you're allergic to them, all nuts might be good for you in one way or another. Nuts and heart health. Epidemiologic studies have linked eating nuts with reduced rates of heart disease, and that's extremely good news for everyone since heart disease is the leading cause of death worldwide. A review on nuts and cardiovascular disease risk found that higher consumption of nuts worked out to a 19% reduction in disease incidence and a 25% reduction in death from heart disease. Researchers also found a correlation between nuts and lower risk of atrial fibrillation and stroke deaths. What's more, a Korean cohort study discovered that even just one 15-gram serving of nuts per week, about half an ounce, was associated with a lowered risk of high blood pressure. Nuts and diabetes. Relatedly, recent studies have also indicated that nut consumption may help manage or prevent type 2 diabetes. Many people with type 2 diabetes also have some form of heart disease due to its metabolic impacts on the body. As a result, researchers used a systematic review to look at the blood lipid levels in people with type 2 diabetes. They found that both peanuts and tree nuts had an impact on total cholesterol and triglycerides in the diets of diabetes patients. A 2021 meta-analysis of clinical trials also found that tree nut consumption reduced glucose levels and HbA1c levels in patients with type 2 diabetes. Nuts and brain health. Walnuts do indeed look like little brains and may also help with brain health. A 2022 study in the journal Nutrients showed walnuts have a powerful protective effect against neuroinflammation. This is an important quality to have since neuroinflammation is directly linked to the development of neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's. Another more recent review also suggests that nuts have a positive impact on cognitive health across the lifespan and may especially help prevent cognitive decline in older adults. In particular, walnuts were noted as the most promising nut in supporting cognition due to their omega-3 fatty acid content. Nuts and longevity. Speaking of being protective across your lifespan, a study of Seventh-day Adventists, a religious denomination that emphasizes healthy living and a vegetarian diet, found that those who ate nuts at least 5 times per week gained, on average, an extra 2 years of life expectancy. The nut eaters also experienced a significant reduction in heart disease risk. And perhaps most dramatically of all, a large-scale 30-year-long study found that people who regularly ate 1 ounce of nuts at least 7 times per week were 20% less likely to die for any reason compared to those who avoided nuts in their diet. Nuts and cancer. Many nuts have also been linked to lower rates of certain cancers. Studies done on walnuts in particular have found that they appear to be particularly protective against breast and prostate cancers. Walnuts and many other nuts contain a number of potent nutrients that may help fight cancer and boost overall health. These nutrients include ellagic acid, a phytochemical, and gamma-tocopherol, an antioxidant and the major form of vitamin E, both of which have strong anti-inflammatory and cancer-protective effects. You just listened to Nut Health Benefits You Won't Believe How Good They Are for You, Part 1 by Ocean Robbins at foodrevolution.org. And I'm your host, Marian Erickson. Tune in tomorrow for the second half of this article, where you'll hear about the one final health benefit of nuts and erectile dysfunction, and then some of the disadvantages of nuts, and then how to enjoy them, including some amazing-looking recipes. So tune in tomorrow, and please share this episode with anyone who might benefit, and thanks for listening.